Welcome back to the Earth Intuitive Podcast. I'm your host, Brittany Nelson. This podcast is a hub for sensitive and intuitive women to feel comforted, supported, and whole in their healing journey. We go over Ayurvedic health themes as well as energy updates to find a sense of wholeness through mind, body, spirit medicine in a community of women who feel it all. Welcome back, everybody. I hope you've had a beautiful and transformative spring. It's been rainy and a little chilly here for days, but it feels right. April showers bring May flowers, right? We are in Taurus season now. I just want to take an exhale about that. Taurus is so grounded. I did provide an 11-minute guided meditation to tap into Taurus energy, how it's connected to our abundance. If you want to grab that, you can send me a DM on my Instagram, which is at the link in the show notes. But today I want to talk about something that's really foundational in Ayurveda and also in our healing journey, wherever you find yourself, and that is our daily practice, our daily routine. So I'm going to talk about the one practice that has totally changed my life, and we're going to talk about some other practices and why this is so crucial in Ayurveda, and really getting into a bigger perspective of how this can really change our lives, right? Something that seems so simple and meaningless can really transform how we go about our day, how we go about thinking about things. So let's go ahead and dive into it. So I just want to start with a quick metaphor. Let's say that you have no electricity in your house. It's 150 years ago, 200 years ago. I'm sorry, whenever that was. Don't have a calendar in front of me. You don't have electricity in your home. And so the only thing that can light the way, especially in the winter or in the fall or in the early spring, is lighting a fire, lighting a candle. And without that, we don't have warmth, we don't have life, we don't have something guiding us forward to bring about our day. And so I want you to imagine this episode, this aspect of cultivating a daily practice as a way to shine your own light, to remind yourself why you're here, to remind yourself of the bigger picture, to remind yourself what's important to you, to remind yourself what you already have. We are lighting the candle and illuminating the darkness. And this is really going to help us move forward in our life in a very gentle and methodical way. So I'm going to share my favorite morning practice. Yes, I have a few. I don't always do them every day, but this one I do. And that is after I wake up in the morning, I'm a little bit of a slow riser. I brush my teeth, I splash my face, I make my chai. I might have like a very small piece of food, maybe some toast to go with that chai, but I have my chai. And once I've gotten to that place, might have talked to my partner a little bit at that point, I'm ready for my reset for the day. And I'm not naturally a morning person. So I take my chai and I go outside. So if it's rainy or a little bit not so great weather, which is a big part of the year where I live here in the Pacific Northwest, I go to our front porch. It's got a covering, it's got a little wind chime, and I can really look out at the tall trees surrounding our home. It's really beautiful here. I live in the temperate rainforest about an hour outside of Portland, Oregon. And I simply just sit with nothing with me. I don't have my phone usually. If I do, I put it on airplane mode. Usually I don't have it. Sometimes I feel inspired and I'll go get my phone and maybe create some content. But essentially I just go out there with my chai. Maybe the dog comes out, maybe he doesn't. If it's nice out, I'll go into the backyard and sit on the chair and let the sun kind of caress my face. And I just observe nature. I sit in the sunlight for a minimum of 2 minutes. Usually it's a little bit longer depending on what my morning looks like or what the weather's like. This morning I had this beautiful experience. I went out and I don't really fully feel alive until I can connect with nature and check in and see what's going on in nature. And often it mirrors what I'm feeling. And I go outside and this morning and I watch the rain kind of softly fall. We don't often get a lot of wind where I live, but the wind chime was delicately blowing and chiming. There was wind in the trees and it was just so beautiful. And it was this reminder of this deep part of my soul, which is very deep and soulful and a little bit melancholy and moody, but also something about it felt like I was coming home. And in those few moments in the morning when I can just sit, maybe I'll do some gentle breath work. Maybe I simply just look at nature. Something I always do is I practice gratitude. Now, I don't necessarily talk about God a lot on this podcast, but you may hear me using that word more. I'm going to get a little bit more bold and brave here, and I've really come back to a beautiful relationship with God these past few years. And, if that doesn't resonate with you, that's okay. You can replace that word with the universe, with higher self, ancestors, nature, whatever. Okay, so just something bigger than ourselves. I connect to God, and I feel that most through nature. And whatever mood or whatever vibe I'm bringing myself into that day is typically transformed just by going outside for a few minutes. And I feel, and I start to recount all that I'm grateful for in my life. Oh, I'm grateful for a good night's sleep if I had a good night's sleep. I'm grateful for this elaborate chai I make every morning. It's so good. It's like my joy. I'm grateful for this in my life. I'm grateful for the support in that area of my life. And I just keep going. And most mornings, you could ask my fiance, Nick, most mornings when I walk in, I might say, oh, it's so beautiful outside. The sun is shining or the rain is coming down. And I've totally transformed my mood. And that, if I kind of stay in that energy, and yes, reality sets in and life happens and our moods change throughout the day, but it really puts me in a specific state of mind where I'm able to take a bird's eye view into my life. So anything that I feel frustrated about, challenged by, it's kind of evaporated in those few moments I have outside, because I'm able to see the bigger picture here. I'm able to orient my mind to what's the reality. I might wake up feeling a little heavy, and that might get a little bit softened or lightened just by spending a few minutes in nature and with God. It's really what it is. A lot of times I'll come back in. If I'm hungry, I'll make a full breakfast. I might go journal if I have some time. That feels really nice, or work on some creative work, depends on what's happening in the day. Sometimes I have to run out the door. And I know not everybody has the luxury of spending that much time in the morning. But even if you can spend 2 minutes outside, as close as you can to first thing in the morning, without glasses, without contacts, what that's going to do is, yes, it's going to help you feel more connected to yourself and to nature and to God. It's going to help you ground. So especially if it's nice out, I love to put my bare feet on the earth. You could do that. It's also going to reset your circadian rhythm for the night ahead so that your sleep is improving. So those of my clients that come to me that have sleep issues or they don't have that steady morning routine, this is one of the top things I tell them to do, is to go outside first thing in the morning. If it's really gnarly out, you can just stick your head out the window without the glass for a couple of minutes. Do what you can. Earlier the better. When we get that early morning light into our retinas, it really kind of communicates to our brain that, oh, hey, it's morning. And hey, here's what time it is. And it resets everything so that we can sleep better at night. So this is a beautiful practice to do. It has honestly changed my life. I have a lot of water and Cancer in my chart, so I tend to get a little bit heavy and negative sometimes, or critical, or down and out. Like, I'm very good at that. I can cultivate that energy, Eeyore energy, really well. Maybe you're like that. Maybe you get more fiery and angry. Maybe you get more anxious. Like, we all have our tendencies. And so when we could sort of just reset and say, hey, I know I have my tendencies and my stories, but if I can spend these less than 5 minutes outside and resetting myself, and I get to choose how I approach my day, your day could dramatically change. The morning time in Ayurveda represents birth. It represents a new beginning. And so we get to choose how we want to spend that time, even if it's a couple of minutes, if that's all you got. If you're a new mom, if you can, bring your baby outside with you for a couple minutes. It's great for them too. So you may have an established practice that you don't even know is your morning routine. Maybe you've been making a cup of coffee every morning and sitting on the kitchen table and looking out the window, and you watch the birds outside, and it's your peace. And that's a daily routine that's worth continuing. Maybe you do go outside and take your dog for a walk for 20 minutes. That's beautiful. Maybe you don't have a daily routine and you're feeling frazzled or sort of like you're drowning in your own life circumstances. This is the number one thing I want everyone to do, is establish a morning routine. If for some reason you can't do it in the morning, do it in the midday, do it in the evening. Morning is best just because it kind of sets the tone for your day ahead. But if you need to do it later, just get it in at least in the day at some point. So this is really, really important. What this also does, this sense of consistency and stability and groundedness and regularity, is it's going to calm Vata dosha. Vata in Ayurveda is the combination of air and ether elements. This can cause anxiety, insomnia, spaciness, dryness in the body, dry skin, constipation, worry, fear. That dosha can go out of balance more than the other two. A lot of us are dealing with it, especially if you're in a time of transition in your life or you are aging. Those are two really big parts of life where this can happen. Many of us have instability in our life. Many of us are on our screens all day long. Many of us are nomadic or travel or move around a lot. That is all Vata energy. So especially for you, you're going to absolutely want to make your morning routine your number one priority. In Ayurveda, we call this our dinacharya. So dina means daily, acharya means a way in which we're moving through life, a path forward. Dinacharya is more than just a daily routine. It's also a proclamation and a sort of commitment to how you want to live your life. How do you want to live your life? Right? Do you want to wake up in the morning and look at your phone and see all the emails and feel stressed immediately? That's okay if that happens. Put your phone away, go outside for 5 minutes, breathe, ground your feet into the earth, recall all that you're grateful for. If you can't get there, simply just slow down your breath. If you're feeling a lot, let yourself feel it and let that flow down through your legs out into the earth. Right? So we don't want to not acknowledge how we're feeling. That's really important, and we'll get to some more practices here shortly. But we also want to remember the bigger picture, which is I'm alive. I have breath in my lungs. I can move my body. I can think my thoughts. Maybe you have a job that pays well. Maybe you have a family that loves you. Maybe you have some sort of beautiful thing you've been given. Like there's always stuff we could be grateful for. It could be very simple. My dog, my cup of warm water that's soothing my esophagus. There's always something we can be grateful for. So this is not to bypass our challenges, but it's just to build a foundation where we can build our perspective on. So if we're building a foundation of, I'm always stressed, I'm tired all the time, woe is me, I'm a victim, what can grow from that place? It may not be something you want, but if you can build your foundation and say, yeah, I'm going through challenges, but that's like a part of life, or I'm going through a rough period, but hey, I've got air in my lungs, I've got a roof over my head, I have people who love me, I'm changing my life. I'm working on myself. All the things you can call in to be grateful for, that is a much stronger foundation to work from. When we come to a place of acceptance of where we're at, that's when change can then happen. If we are in resistance to life, resistance to what we're facing, that's when we're going to attract more of what we do not want as a lesson. And life is going to keep giving us what we're resisting, right? So this is not about bypassing. It's about building a stronger foundation for your life, building a stronger foundation. I really believe, this is just me, and not everybody, is spiritual or prioritizes that. However, if we don't have something bigger that we can feel small next to, if we think we have all the answers, I don't know how far we can really get. We need to have something to surrender into. Who do you trust enough to surrender to? Those are some of the deeper and bigger questions that can come through your morning practice. But I'm going to talk about a few more ways you can either add on to this going outside practice or do instead of, or, these are just some ideas to build your dinacharya, your daily routine that's going to work toward your specific goals. So first thing in the morning, the next thing I tell clients aside from going outside is to drink warm water first thing in the morning. What this is going to do is it's very soothing and calming for the nervous system, of course, but it's also signaling to the digestive system to slowly and gently wake up. You can add fresh squeezed lemon juice or lime juice to this if you'd like. That really helps stimulate Agni, which is our digestive fire. Make sure you do this before you have your coffee or before you have anything else. Just think about, what is the first thing I'm doing in the morning? What is the first thing I'm putting into my body? You want to nourish your body. You want to nourish your tissues. Usually we wake up somewhat dehydrated from the night, so we want to drink a lot of water, but see if you can make that warm. See what that does to your morning. This going outside practice is really, really powerful and beautiful too. You could sit outside. You could stand on the earth. You can just sit on your porch if it's raining or snowing. This is such a beautiful, beautiful practice, and it really is life-changing, you guys. It really, really is. And you may have moments where it feels like it's a chore, and that's okay. Keep showing up. And there's moments where it's going to feel like pure bliss, like pure bliss. And I don't know if it's just me, if I'm just a deep feeler and I love nature, but it transforms my whole morning and my day. And I can remind myself, because I tend to get critical and dark sometimes, I remind myself, man, if I look at my life from a bird's eye view, and I look at where I was a year ago or 2 years ago, I have made so much progress. And yeah, I may not be at that place I want to be at yet. And I might be feeling impatient, sometimes hopeless, or there's something that won't shift in my life. But that's just the nature of being a human. So if we can remember to shine our light, to light our candle on our hearts every morning, whatever your spiritual practice is, whatever your mindfulness or meditative practices, whatever you want to call it, that's just going to make your life so much more meaningful. If you're a creative person, we need more time for stillness. We need more time for reflection. That's where we get our creative ideas from. If you're in a time of life where things are just busy and chaotic all the time and you're saying, I don't have time for this, you need it more than anyone else. So I would challenge you. Everybody can make space for 5 minutes in a day, 2 minutes in a day. If you don't have that kind of time, I'm not sure what you're doing, right? Just do it. And, if you get interrupted by kids or by a dog, it's okay. You're showing up and you're doing it. This is so crucial, y'all, of making the changes in our lives we want to make. We have to hold ourselves accountable, and we have to be disciplined to show up every day in the hard times, in the mundane times, in the great times. We show up every day the same. in our same, not the same like our state of being, but we show up every day the same way for our practice. We show up to our practice because that is showing up for ourselves, showing up for improving ourselves. It's showing up for softening and surrendering ourselves. It's showing up for God, if that's what you believe in. It's showing up for something bigger than what life is showing you in this moment. It's that belief in the unseen. Now I'm going to get into some other morning practices that I love to do, that I have done myself, that I think some of you will love as well. A lot of you may be familiar with morning pages. So this is kind of like that, but a little bit different. Morning pages is by the book, from the book, The Artist's Way. It's where you wake up and you just write 3 pages, unedited. You don't think about it. A lot of people love that. I like another practice that I learned from someone else, which is to just start your journaling by mind dumping. So I'm kind of like, okay, here I'm feeling, today is this day and I'm feeling this way. And you might do that for like 3-4 minutes. And then if you have the time and you want to get into your creative writing or just being a little bit more visionary about your life, you can set your timer for 15 minutes. Put your hand on your heart first and ask, what wants to be created through me today? And just see what comes intuitively. You set your timer for 15 minutes. You start writing without editing, without pausing. When the 15 minutes are up, you go back and underline anything you really loved. And you can either turn this into content you could share with people. Maybe it's just for yourself as a creative practice. That's a beautiful way to start your morning if you want to kind of lean more into your creativity. Another great practice to do, which I think all of us should do when we can remember it, is to try to stay device free for the first 30 minutes or so of your day. So, you might need to look at the time, but maybe you're not checking social media right away or your email. You have that space in between when you're waking up from your dreams and then transitioning into real reality. This is going to give you the space in your mind to be creative or be imaginal. Maybe you kind of linger in that dream space that you just had. You write it down and you might have an insight, or you might have something come through, or maybe you meditate first thing in the morning. So that's a great practice, is to stay off screens for the first 30 minutes of your day, maybe longer if you can. Invest in an alarm clock. I've been telling myself I need to do that. I haven't got one yet, but that's really powerful because then you won't reach for your phone right away. Another couple of great practices I love in the morning, especially if you are kind of groggy or slow moving in the morning, is to do some breath work. So I love to do this outside, especially unless it's really bad weather out. So when I go outside for my practice, I sit down on the front porch, or I sit down at my chair in the backyard in the sun, and I take a deep breath in and out a few times, and I just kind of just orient myself to nature around me and listen to the birds and open up my hearing sense. And then what I love to do is what's called kumbhaka. This is a breath retention. So in the morning, we want to bring more energy and vitality into the body. So in the morning, what we would do is to retain the breath on the inhale. So let's just practice it a couple times together here. Exhale all your breath out. Inhale through your nose. Hold the breath at the top. And then whenever you need to, just let it go. Exhale. Let that linger out. Take a normal breath in between. Inhale deep. Hold the breath at the top as long as you need or can. You don't want to wait till the last minute. So as long as comfortable, when you're ready, you can let it go. And then you'll take that normal breath in between. And so when we retain the breath, it's so good for the body, for the nervous system, for the cardiovascular system. They say when we use less breaths, it slows down disease and death. And it just feels so good. So that's a great practice you can do. There is another more invigorating practice. I'm not going to do it with you guys here because it's a little bit more intense, but that is the practice of breath of fire. It's also been called Kapalabhati or skull shining breath. There's a couple variations in those breaths, but essentially it's a really powerful breath where you're focusing on your exhale and drawing that navel in, and it gives you almost like a coffee jolt of energy if you need it. So if you're like really feeling lethargic or dull in the mind or a little bit depressed and you need more vitality just coming in, that's a really good practice. So I have a few videos of that. If you're curious and you want to learn more, just send me an email. I could send you some resources on that. You can also look on YouTube. There's usually a lot of tutorials on there as well. Email is brittany@earthintuitive.com. That is in my bio in the podcast. So there's a lot of ways that we can expand and kind of meet the energy of the morning. We don't do it through a jolt. I mean, breath of fire is a little bit of a jolt if we need it, but we do it slowly and methodically and mindfully so that we can still feel that calm nervous system as we enter into the day. So I want you to check in with yourself, and this is without judgment or criticism. Do you have a daily practice, a morning practice? Maybe it's later in the day. Maybe you go for a nature walk later in the day. That's great. So first ask yourself, do you have a morning practice? Yes or no? What is it? And I want you to kind of assess, how do you feel most mornings? It might be different every single day, but generally, lately, in the last 2 to 3 weeks, how have you been feeling in the morning time? Do you feel really tired? Do you feel like you don't want to get up out of bed and you don't want to go to your job? Do you feel inspired? Do you feel kind of just mundane about it? Maybe you've been all over the place. So that's going to tell you right there what kind of morning practice you might need. And you can just take my recommendation of going outside. That's pretty much great for everybody all the time, every morning. If you're feeling like you need more inspiration, if you feel like you need more nervous system regulation and calm, that can tell you a lot. So if you're like, I want to be more creative or I want to be more spiritual, maybe you do the journaling practice. If you need more calm in the morning and more space to feel at peace, maybe you do some calming breath work or a meditation. Maybe you do a 15-minute yoga class. I have a whole library. There's about 35, I think, yoga classes ranging from 8 minutes all the way to, about an hour, I believe, in my yoga library. So you can just pick one and do it in the morning. So that's in my school community for purchase. There's also stuff on YouTube for free if you just want to check that out with other yoga teachers out there. Maybe you actually go to a physical class at your gym or your yoga studio, and that can really light you up. Maybe you do that once or twice a week. When we are working toward a goal, if you've been feeling a certain way, I want you to use your mornings as a way to rewrite your story. And we do this through these practices, through our dinacharya. And I want you to ask yourself, how do I want to feel in a month or two from now? How do I want to feel in 6 months from now? Yes, we have our goals of physical things we want to accomplish in life, but what are those deeper, sort of underneath the surface goals of how do we want to feel? Maybe you want to feel more peace or rest. Maybe you want to feel more freedom. Maybe you want to feel more financial abundance or just an abundance of people in your life. Whatever it is, we can cultivate those qualities in our daily practice. If you're craving more community in your life and relationships, maybe in the morning you feel your heart space and you start to imagine strings coming from your heart out to the world. So you're making more connections. If you are looking for more clients or for more business, you imagine those clients coming in. You imagine yourself doing your work and helping those people. If you want more travel, you can imagine yourself in a beautiful place. And so we want to kind of timeline skip a bit because we are literally co-creating our lives with something outside of ourselves that's bigger than us. So the daily routine is so much about our health, yes, of course, our physical health, but it's also so much more than that. We remind ourselves that we are souls here having a human experience, and that to pay attention to our humanity is number one importance. And we have to remember that bigger picture. We have to go back to that bird's eye view. We have to light our candle every morning and remind ourselves, what are we working toward? What are we here for? And that is deeply going to transform your life, I promise you. And give it time, give it space. When you're committing to a daily practice, try at least 40 days straight. This is the amount of time it takes for a practice to become just a daily habit and routine. So give yourself that time. I think that's it for now. So I invite you to, ask those questions. Do I have a daily routine, daily morning routine? How do I want to feel in the morning? What are my bigger, deeper goals in life? And then from there, maybe you just try that morning routine where you go outside with your warm water or you're with your tea or coffee in the morning. That's beautiful. Maybe you have a gratitude practice, naming 3 to 5 things you're grateful for every morning. Maybe it's breath work. Maybe it's movement. Maybe it's going to the gym. There's probably a million other options I didn't talk about here, but I want you to commit to something every morning. It could be 2 minutes. It could be really simple. Could take less than 2 minutes if you're doing gratitude. If you're doing the outside practice, make sure you spend at least 2 minutes outside to get your eyes oriented to nature. Again, best to do without glasses or contacts or, just looking out the window. It really helps to get out into the air. You're going to feel the difference too. If you're curious and you want to comment on this podcast or just send me a note about just to hold yourself accountable or to share, you can always send me an email at brittany@earthintuitive.com. I'm also taking on new clients for my 6-month deep dive program called Nourished. This is for women of all ages who are ready to commit to their healing journeys and to learn more about this beautiful ancient science of Ayurveda. So you're going to get 6 high-impact one-on-one health counseling sessions with me to get super personal about where you want to go with your health goals. So whether that's physical health only, or you want to incorporate energetic, mental health, spiritual, it's all one and the same in holistic medicine. So we're going to meet one-on-one 6 times over the course of a few months. That first one is a deep health assessment and really establishing those goals. And then the second part of the program is going through my course, Embodied Ayurveda. This is 10 hour-long classes you can do on your own in your own time to really learn how to use Ayurveda practically in the modern world and how to use these ancient, beautiful techniques to help you feel more whole and balanced with your doshas and all of the imbalances you may have going on. So we get into sleep health, energetic health, digestion is a big one, diet, herbs. We get into how to navigate through the seasons and eat seasonally and adjust your practices through different times of the year, how to adjust through different transitions in life. So whether you are going through first-time motherhood or whether you are perimenopause or going through menopause, it's all encompassing in this course. So I'm offering $200 off the package. I do have payment plans available in April only. So if you're curious, you can visit my website, earthintuitive.com, to learn more, or you can simply and right on that button at the top, there's a let's chat or something like that button. And it's just a free call. We can connect for 20 minutes, get to know each other. I require this of everyone who's interested in the program just to make sure we're a good fit, make sure I can help you out with what you're looking for. So again, I'm offering that $200 discount only for April. If you're not quite ready to commit to something like that, I also have one-off sessions. So you can get in touch with me for just one session here and there if that's something you want to just start out with, kind of dip your toe into. Reach out to me at my email, brittany@earthintuitive.com. I'll send you the link to schedule that. Otherwise, you could check out my free course, Ayurveda 1-on-1 and Nourish Your Nervous System in my free school community. And you could do that at your own pace as well. So for now, I'm going to sign off. I'm gazing at my beautiful candle. We were talking about lighting our candle. And I'm only sharing practices that I have deeply experienced and that have worked for me on this podcast. So it's not just about theory. This is really about embodiment and having these experiences firsthand, because this stuff works and I'm here to tell you it works. And it also deeply humbles us to realize that there's something bigger than us out there. And our job is just to show up for our purpose and what's meaningful for us in our lives, and to share with others our gifts. And we can do this all through these ancient, beautiful practices that have been around for thousands of years for a reason. So all of that info is in the show notes. Thank you all so much for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast, I would really appreciate a review. You can comment below. You could just share it with a friend, or you could just put your star rating wherever you listen to your podcasts. I will see you guys next week with a brand new episode. Take care.